Okay, back again. And concluding, talking about the Mohawk and the black slaves. It says, today, few blacks live on the reserves in Canada or the reservations in New York, and many contemporary black folks have racist attitudes toward their Mohawk relatives. Okay, very interesting. Very interesting. And let's see. Let's go back to race and changing of the racial identity. Gabrielle Tayak. She's Piscataway. I have much respect for her. Okay. Okay. Recasting of Indians throughout the Chesapeake region as mulattoes and free people color. At the same time, the reservations were being eradicated in the 1700s and 1800s, resulted in the dissolution of treaty rights. This racialization of Indian people set into motion the death of their recognized sovereignty. Again, this racialization of Indian people set into motion the death of their recognized sovereignty. Next, page 112. I think I already read that, but I'm going to read it again. The Piscataway likely found eligible marriage partners among the free people color, who were the children of white indentured servants and enslaved Africans. Okay. Church records. You're going to be looking at church records. That's a good place to look. They usually keep the true identity of their community, their racial makeup, versus the census takers. You know. So I'm going to just read this paragraph, the last paragraph on page 113. When in the 1890s, James Mooney sent circulars from the Bureau of American Ethnology to research Indian remnants. I guess that's what I would be considered, right? Reports came back from families who identify as members of the Piscataway chieftain tribes. These same peoples were identified by their neighbors as being part Negro. So I guess their neighbors would be the white people. By 1910, however, the designations of free colored or mulatto gave way to the bifurcated classification of either black or white on the census records. Despite this narrow classification, the church continued to identify the community as Indian. Check those church records, people. Okay. Next page, 114. Among Mooney's papers at the National Anthropological Archives in Suitland, Maryland, which I didn't even know, is an article from a 1912 edition of the Washington Star. It describes a group of people in Prince George's County with the surname Proctor who have brown complexions and straight black hair and trace their ancestry back to the old Piscataway Empire. There also exists a series of studies on triracial isolates by William Wilbur. Articles describing this community as mysterious or as an outcast clan are seen throughout the first half of the 20th century. I know I read this before, but it'll make sense now. Okay, it will make sense. The Indianness of the community is speculated upon, but continuous reference to ranges of blackness and phenotype serve to publicly undercut any acknowledgement of the community's tribal history. So, black, You can't be Native American. You have black blood. Really? How crazy and lopsided and hypocritical is that? Just selected amnesia. That's all that is. Selected amnesia. Again, the Indianness of the community is speculated upon, but continuous references to range of blackness and phenotype, nose, hair, I don't know, big booty, serve to publicly undercut any acknowledgement of the community's tribal heritage. Okay? Whites sat in the front, Indians and light-skinned blacks downstairs at the back. Talking about a church now. And blacks on the balcony. This arrangement remained in place until 1964. So people were going to the same church, related and all, but they had the whites in the front, the light-skinned blacks in the back, and Indians, and then the dark-skinned blacks up top. The Piscataway also practiced high rates of endogamy, marrying within their own community, aka incest. You know, that's been going on, and it's frowned upon. You know, too close in relations, it's taboo and all of that. But in order to keep that blood strong, they marry within their community. I've heard this saying actually recently. It was only have eyes for your family. And I was like, I'm not sure about that. But a lot of people who are very passionate about their culture and identity, they would rather have families within their families. In so many words. So the Piscataway were doing that for a moment in history. Not sure about them currently. I don't know much about these people anyway. This boundary maintenance served to minimize interracial marriages with blacks and frequently led to disownership of family members who married outside of the community. If you chose to marry someone who was not your relative, they will kick you out. And you bet not better, you bet not bring home a black person and have mixed black babies. They will disown you. Not sure if they do it now, but again, they're documented in history that they did that. While those practices once served to protect the sense of Indianness in a violent world, I, Gabrielle, that's the person speaking, I contend that to continue to deny the realities of our history and disavow our African American ancestors does not serve us well. We may be hybrid in composition, but we are enduringly rooted in indigeneity. By claiming our names, we bite back. By claiming our name, we bite back. Strong statement. I give it up to you. Thank you so much, Gabrielle, member of the Piscataway Nation. You put it out there, and I appreciate that because, again, a lot of people hide behind that whole sovereign. Oh, we can, this is we're not racist. We're not racist. You have to find that one ancestor. Again, the records were not on the black person's side, period. And if you're mixed with Indian and black, good luck finding the paperwork. Okay? So that whole, like some communities, well, if you can find one ancestor on our rows, then you would be a member. Really? A lot of people were not listed on those rows, okay? So they are not accurate anyway. But whatever. All right, so Oh, this is kind of tying into what I'm trying to say here. The next chapter is Race, Citizenship, and Sovereignty in the Cherokee Nation. Hate to pick on you, but hey, you're in the book, so I'm going to talk about you. Okay, so page 118. Drop it down. This is like 1, 2, 3. The fourth chapter. The fourth paragraph. Yet many freedmen, including men and women of Afro and Cherokee ancestry, were not so lucky. Those too late ex-slaves who failed to return to Cherokee territory within 6 months after the Treaty of 1866 were denied citizenship in the Cherokee Nation and struggled to claim their rights well into the 20th century. And they still struggling. Now, I don't know about those who claim the ancestry because their people were slaves, black slaves, and they're considered citizens up under, that hierarchy or whatever. But I know that where some of them had that Cherokee blood in them. They had the blood, but if they had the black blood and the Native American blood, they put them on the freedmen rolls, and they didn't put down that they had mixture. They didn't put down that they had Indian. They just put them in freedmen. So a lot of people who maybe found a relative on the freedmen roll, maybe found them, that person could really have been mixed with the Cherokee blood. But if you're on that freedmen list, then they automatically assume that you were just black, which it's a pile of crap. That's what I got to say about it. Next page. In 1883, the Tribal Council passed legislation excluding the freedmen, as well as the Shawnees, Delawares, intermarried whites, and other adopted citizens, from sharing the proceeds from the sale of Cherokee lands. This is my opinion about this stuff. If money was not involved, no one would care who they adopted in their community, who they mixed with, who they had children by. If they, practice this religion or that religion, if they wash their hair every day, nobody would care. It would not be a topic of discussion. But because money is involved, you got a big pie. But you don't want certain people to have a piece of it. And again, you have people that with no black blood who are, rightful members of a tribal community are being disenrolled because of the love of money. So, again, if money wasn't involved, benefits and all this stuff, and first pick for jobs in the federal government and all that, people would care less about all of this enrollment business. In 1887, Congress passed the General Allotment Act, also known as the Dawes Act, which opened Indian lands to white settlement, dissolved tribalism, and promoted the assimilated native peoples, the Cherokee, the Choctaw. You see what I'm saying? So if they assimilated, they to this day, the 5 civilized tribes are well known, they're documented in the records, and they get a lot of money. So, and I'm sure a lot of tribal police dwell among those circles because they want a bigger piece of their pie. Let's just put it that way. The category of freedmen, which did not record degree of Cherokee blood, like I said before, included African Americans and Afro-Cherokees. So regardless if you had the black blood, if you had kinky hair and that pencil didn't fall out because your hair's curly, your nose a little bit wider than everybody else, your lips a little bit plump, your skin is darker, or your skin is darker, your hair's straight, your nose is narrow, your lips are thin, but you're dark, you were put on those freedmen rolls. Okay, let's see. The new Cherokee Constitution declared that proof of descent from an ancestor listed on Dawes rolls was the only criteria for tribal citizenship, but that would change. Now, a Cherokee citizen had to prove descent from a person listed on the Dawes Commission blood roll, not Freedman, of 1906. Okay, that's all I have to say about genealogy and race relations and how genealogy is so difficult if you have that Black and Native American blood, and if you're not connected to the 5 civilized tribes. And if you are, good luck, because your Native and African blood relatives probably on the Freedman rolls. And how can you prove? How can you prove that they have blood? So anyway, the next part is going to be about food, nutrition. Okay? Yeah.